What's up, guys? Vince the Anomaly here with Shane.
What's up, guys?
And today we are going to be covering 5 common mistakes with a leg kick, specifically to MMA. Let's check them out. Don't make these mistakes. First common mistake that we have when we're throwing leg kicks here is being either too close to our opponent or too far away. So whenever we're fighting someone, we need to know our proper distances for all of our strikes, right? So if I'm in that boxing range, if I'm in that kicking range, I'm in that clinch range, that wrestling, that takedown range, I gotta know where each one of those are. So specifically for these leg kicks, guys, one, we don't want to be too close to our opponent. That's probably the most obvious one, because when I'm right here and I want to throw this kick, I can't even get that much power on it to land here on Shane, to land it appropriately, right? I don't have that proper hip swing, that momentum shift, and I'm not able to whip my leg around. So I'm not throwing, one, an effective strike, and two, I'm not really protected up here when I throw this. Even if I, let's say, throw a cross and then throw my kick, Shane's right there, and if he's a half-decent fighter, all he's going to have to do is throw one of those punches. He can easily catch my kick, or he can physically just run and walk right through me, and he's going to get a takedown. He's going to get me when I'm off balance. So I'm throwing this leg kick too close. Shane just bowls me over, right? So one of the more popular ones you'll see, especially in MMA, is that right there. The guy throws the leg kick, and I go right here on the shoulder. As I catch this and keep this attached to my leg, all I need to do from here is just run Shane over, and he's going to fall down. So I get my takedown.
Yeah.
Also, when you're going up against wrestlers in MMA, if a guy tries to leg kick me right here, that's takedown city. I can even just clinch up top and get nice and tight here with my double underhooks. It's very easy to counter when we're trying to kick from too close of a distance.
Yeah.
Another problem is being way too far out, right? And oftentimes you'll see this because people in MMA will use this leg kick kind of like a jab, right? Like, I'm a little tentative. I don't know how this guy is as a fighter yet. I'm a little worried, so I'm just going to throw a few leg kicks, right?
Yeah.
But they're throwing them from too far away because, again, we're not in that full striking mode yet. I haven't really found my distance, and I'm too far out like this. If I throw my leg kick, boom, look where I'm hitting. That sucks.
What's the problem here?
What's the problem here? We do not want to hit with our foot, especially when a guy's good at checking kicks. All they got to do is just turn their knee slightly to the outside, and I'm hitting with my toes. I'm hitting with my foot. In a fight with no shin guards, that's an easy broken foot. And trust me, I mean, we've all done this in sparring. I know it's happened to me a million times where, we just get that wrong angle, we hit our foot, and it hurts for days, weeks even sometimes.
Even if you hit the thigh, you can hyperextend the ankle. I've done that before, and just the ankle bends in the opposite direction. That's no good either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So really be aware of your distance. So when you're too far out like that, be sure that you're not throwing those kicks because, one, you're either going to be catching your foot, or two, it's going to be really easy for Shane to pull back, or I'm not even going to hit him at all. And if I'm throwing this kick and I'm off balance here, this guy's going to rush forward, hit me with some big shots, or just wrestle me down. So watch the distance on these kicks. Don't be too close. Don't be too far away. Common mistake number 2 is the angle of impact. When we are kicking, we want to make sure that we are hitting with the proper part of our shin. Again, like the last one, we don't want to be hitting with our foot. Obviously, we want to be connecting with our shin bone, and that's going to be the most conditioned. It's going to be the hardest. You land that shin to chin, shin to leg, it hurts a lot. All right? But it's very important that we are not throwing our kicks up like this where we're slapping in. So see how my toes are kind of up? I'm not properly turning over my leg. Even if I hit it on Shane's thigh where I want to, that's not going to hurt nearly as much as this will. And two, it's not going to hurt me if he checks the kick when I'm turning my shin over. So notice this little paint stick here. Imagine that this is our shin bone, just like that. If I'm just slapping my kick up like this thing can break pretty easily in this direction. All right, so we want to make sure that when we're connecting, we're turning it over and we're hitting with the blade. This hurts, this breaks. We want to be turning our shin over and connecting with the blade. So let's say we're aiming for the calf. I'm going through here. If I'm aiming for the thigh here, I'm turning my kick over. If I'm slapping my leg up like this, I'm sure you've all seen the leg break from Anderson Silva. It was really nasty, but it was because he was throwing more of a slappy kick. Not that he doesn't know how to throw leg kicks, he does. It was just in that moment, he threw a few where he was just throwing his leg up there. all it takes is one connection with the knee there and your leg can break. So be sure that when we're throwing these leg kicks, we're turning over. We're conscious about the angle of impact, and we're driving through our opponent. We're getting that shin over and driving right through our target. Common mistake number 3, not having a proper recoil on your leg kick. So, me and Shane are fighting over here. I do everything right. Let's say I set up this leg kick properly. I've got a nice angle. I land it nice and hard. Great leg kick, Vince. But if I'm really slow at bringing my leg back and getting back to a set defensive position, it's going to be a lot easier for Shane to, even if he eats the leg kick, to grab and just drive through. So he can shoot, he can grab the leg or punch. So if I throw this nice and I don't recoil my leg properly, exactly, it's going to be easier for Shane to step in. I'm not set up properly to defend. Now, especially when you're working on the bag and stuff, we always pull our hands back to our head fast, right? So we're trying to get this out there and bring it back fast. Same principle right here with the legs. When I'm working on the bag, when I'm kicking my opponent, I got to land that kick and then bring it right back. Okay, so I got to really focus on not just getting it here fast, but bringing it back fast, because especially in MMA, guys, people are going to feel that leg kick come and they're going to throw a big overhand and just start running at you. And it doesn't take much because I'm off balance here, and as I'm slowly coming back too slow, Shane's just going to run forward and he's going to hit me, he's going to get me down. So just be very cautious about when we throw this kick. We need to land it fast and also bring it back fast. So bring it back to your set defensive position. Another thing you can think about too is as you're throwing it, or once you land it, is cutting a slight angle. So notice how I'm not here right in front of Shane, like how I started this kick, right? So I've thrown it and I've recoiled, but I've backed up and I've cut an angle as I backed up. So that's going to help you guys out as well. So recoil that leg fast, get off on an angle so you're not just a sitting duck after you throw that leg kick. Mistake number 4, not getting your head off of the center line. So we got to make sure when we're throwing these leg kicks, we're getting a proper angle off with our head. So let's say me and Shane are right here. If I'm stationary with my upper body, and even if I land this leg kick really hard, I rip this leg kick in, and my head is right here still, whoa, it's an easy target. All right, especially when most guys are trained to really just kind of sit in on this leg kick anyways and throw a hard straight as a primary defense to it if they're not checking it. So if I throw and my head centered off like that and not moving, boom, it's an easy target. Even if this guy, let's say, just got lucky and he was just randomly throwing a jab or a cross, which will happen in fights just because of timing and things. Yeah. If your head is not off that center line, that's going to land almost every time. So one thing that I like to do when we are throwing these kicks is I'm angling off with my feet. Either I'm going kind of like a 45-degree step this way, or I'm taking like a looping step to the outside here. And notice when I do either one of those, my head is off that center line, and now I've got the proper angle as well. So once I've recoiled properly, I can attack Shane, and he's going to either have to readjust or just go backwards or shell up. Mm-hmm. So be sure that when we are throwing these, my head is getting off the center line here, or again, I'm shooting my head off the center line by kind of sweeping my kick here to the outside. Another thing, one of the cool moves that I saw the other day just watching the UFC, I'm sorry I forget who the guy's name was, but he was throwing this leg kick by really exaggerating his head movement and ripping through this way with the inside leg. And so it kind of freaks the guy out over here because he's like, oh, what's going on? What's he doing? It's like kind of an erratic movement. But notice the whole time my head is moving and my head is off that center line, and then I can get really a lot of power on that inside leg kick too by kind of throwing my weight to the left and then to the right. Yeah. So mix around and play around with all of these here, but make sure that when you are kicking, get that head off the center line because we don't want to be clipped as we're hitting. Now for our last common mistake here with the leg kicks, not properly setting it up. All right, we don't want to be in a situation where we're sparring, where we're fighting, and we're just throwing our leg kick to throw it, right? We want to be setting it in one way or another. So if I'm working with Shane, and I'm just sitting here, and I'm ready to just throw this kick because I want to throw it, and I'm in perfect range here, the faster strike is going to land. So if Shane's good and he can see that kick coming, he's going to land a teep, or maybe let's say he lands a punch. All right, I haven't properly set this up, so it's not really going to land the way I want it to, the way I want it to be effectively. Right? Yeah. So with some proper setups for the leg kick, most common one you see like a 1, 2, 3, or you're finishing with the hook. So I'm getting my opponent to be cautious of what's going on up here. I'm getting them to guard up top. I'm getting them to kind of plant that lead leg too, because I'm throwing that hook hard, and see how it kind of moves Shane onto that lead leg. Once his leg is there, he's not going to be able to pick it up and check at the same time. His weight has shifted from here over to that leg, and now I can really rip and dig in on that leg. Okay, so that's a good setup to use, is getting the guy's weight to shift onto that leg and then driving in. Another good one is actually getting our opponent to back up. So notice, let's say right now I'm just going to flurry on Shane and he's going to be backing up. All right, he has to shuffle his legs back, and each time he's moving backwards, he's planted on that lead leg. So I want to time that plant on the lead leg, and then I can land my leg kick. So I'm going to get him going backwards, and then I'm going to land my leg kick. All right. Another way that we want to deal with these no setup kicks, we don't want to throw these, again, is we're not like throwing these kicks just to throw them. So Shane is coming at me, let's say, and he's pressuring me backwards, and I just rip a leg kick. One, I'm not going to have much power on it, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be really hard to turn and rip and get my hips over as I'm moving backwards. And because Shane is moving forward, either he's going to easily catch me with his hands, or he's going to be pressuring it, and it'll be easy to eat that leg kick and then just rush and take me down.
Yeah, the reason why we save this one for last is because all of the other tips apply. You don't want to make any of those other mistakes. You still want to cut that angle. You don't want to be ever moving backwards and throwing a kick, especially against the wrestler, right? But this is probably the most important one, because this circular attack, it's circular, meaning it doesn't go in a straight line. It's going to take a little bit longer, even if you have a fast low kick. Some guys like Liam Harrison can get away with just firing off that low kick. But still, his kicks get checked a lot. Even in his last fight, there was a lot of checked kicks. It wasn't until he started setting it up with the hands and finished low did they start landing. A setup can be as simple as a feint. It could be faking the jab, getting them to react, to flinch a little bit, to get heavy on their base, and then you can throw that kick. It could be parrying their jab and follow. It's one of my favorite ways to land a low kick. When Vince throws the jab, he's heavy on that kick, or on that leg, for my kick, and that's a great time to throw it. So I parry to protect myself, and then I just turn that leg over, and then I got the kick right there. So you got to think about it like that. The setup doesn't always have to be a punch combo. It could be a feint, it could be a parry, it could be making them back up just with pressure alone. But either way, you got to set the kicks up.
Yeah, you got to set it up, and you got to create some type of rhythm. We talk about this a lot. I like to talk about this a lot too, is because if you just come out here and just spam the same thing over and over, you're going to get caught. If I just throw this leg kick here, it's a lot easier for some time, this big overhand right, and you see it all the time in MMA because nothing has been set up properly before, because there haven't been hands, there haven't been anything else. And like Shane said, it doesn't mean we can't just throw and rip a leg kick here and there out of the blue like Liam Harrison lands a lot of them. Yeah. You can certainly do that, but he's not just sitting there and doing it randomly. He set it up previously by getting you thinking about the hands first, by getting you think of the movement first. So be sure that there's a setup in one way or another.
All right, guys, there you have it. 5 mistakes with the low kick. Now, we're not saying don't throw the low kick. It's a great technique, but there's just a couple things to keep in mind. As Boss Rutan would say, no single kicks. That means set it up. Set it up with punches or parry their shot and follow up with that, but also take your head off the center line. Make sure you're hitting at the right angle. Make sure you have a good retraction in your kick. So practice all of these things. Don't just practice on the heavy bag that's not hitting you back. Practice it with a partner. Practice it in sparring. Master it so that you can use it in competition. Until next time, be sure to check out Vince. Follow him on Instagram, links in the description below, and subscribe to get the fight tips before your opponent does. Until then, I'm Shane.
Fancy Anomaly.
Fight tips for the underdogs.